these NFT slash metaverse schemes just get dumber and dumber by the minute. So not so long ago, I talked about the Polium One, this console announced by this company called Polium. They're building the world's first multi-chain gaming console for Web 3. It is essentially a gaming console entirely dedicated to metaverses and NFT games, the details of which can be found in this Medium blog post where the developers talk about how Polium is building the world's first multi-chain gaming console. It's built by the community, whatever that means. The games are built on different blockchains. The console will be powerful enough to run high-performance games. Yes, totally. This console right here, that's not much bigger than this controller, is supposed to play high-performance games. Here we have a concept dashboard screenshot that just shows NFT games right here, or metaverses. There's some details about the Polium One controller and how it'll have a fingerprint scanner. But the best part is the controller will have a dedicated wallet button. If that doesn't indicate what this endeavor is all about, I don't know what does. They advertise a marketplace app where you can buy and trade non-game and in-game NFTs. It's just all about this speculative investment opportunity. The Polium store will allow you to play games, metaverses, and apps that are published on there. And then there's this leaderboard feature that combines all compatible games into one leaderboard, whatever that also means. There's an estimated release date here of Q3 2024. I can guarantee you that we're not going to see a finished product by then. The CPU, GPU will allegedly be provided by NVIDIA, and the software will be layered on top of Linux. They'll take pre-orders before the console's hardware is completely built. That's a red flag right there. They want to take your money before the console is actually made or before any sort of finalized concept even exists. And not to mention that the only way to pre-order is by minting or purchasing a Polium Pass by engaging with crypto, blockchain, NFT, you name it. And finally, when it comes to launch details, they say they plan to make 10,000 Polium One consoles that'll be released to holders and partners. And then in Q3 2025 is when they plan to sell over 1 million units. Even more hilarious is their website where they advertise Polium One as being able to output 4K Ultra HD. And by the way, this used to say Touch ID. Now it says fingerprint scanner. Touch ID is an Apple technology and trademark. And so them having that up on the website meant that they were opening themselves up to a lawsuit. They removed that. It also used to say 8K. Let me actually bring up my own video here. As you can see, it used to say Touch ID. The developers either thought they could get away with this using somebody else's trademark and product to advertise their own, or they thought that Touch ID basically just meant fingerprint sensor, and if they lack the basic knowledge that Touch ID is a specific Apple branded fingerprint scanner, then clearly they have no idea what they're doing. And it used to say 8K HDR high dynamic range, which is just not feasible for a console of this size, a console that's, again, not much bigger than a traditional controller. They've removed that since, given the ridicule that they've been facing as a result of that, but they did leave up buzzwords such as ray tracing and up to 120 frames per second. Their website also features an FAQ section where they answer questions so vaguely that they might as well not be answers. For example, right here, what will be the specs? We aim to build a high-performance console, but they don't detail exactly what the specs are because the specs you see on the site are not confirmed until we have a functional prototype. They admit outright that the specs shown here are straight up a lie and aren't representative of the final product. Not only are they putting up all of these buzzwords to false market and attract customers that way, they're also taking pre-orders and taking people's money when this stuff is nowhere close to finalized. Now, it's not just Touch ID that Polium One has decided to rip off. As I pointed out in my last video, they also went ahead and ripped off the GameCube logo, changed it up a little bit, the color, they rounded off the edges, and they made it look more like a P instead of a G. Now, Polium tried to deny that they copied the Nintendo GameCube logo. We did not copy the GameCube logo. There are multiple companies that are using a similar logo. Others did it, so it's okay for us to do it. Great excuse there. But we will illustrate a new logo that is original. They did unveil the new logo today, and it's just a slightly more adjusted version of the old logo that ripped off the GameCube logo. It looks like this. Now, if we compare it side by side to the old Polium logo, you will see that all they did was they took this cube right here, expanded it a little bit, and blocked off this part, and then added this extra square here. But other than that, And they remove some of the shading here so that it looks less like a cube. It still doesn't veer off enough to necessarily call it unique. It's, unique enough, I guess, to avoid a lawsuit. It, I guess, changes things up enough, but it's just such a cheap attempt. I mean, that's what this whole Polium One endeavor evokes. Just a complete lack of tangible effort, just a quick cash grab to try to normalize NFTs, Metaverse, blockchain, you name it, all in the hopes of revitalizing the hype surrounding a landscape that has been collapsing these past few months. Interest surrounding NFTs have diminished. NFT sales have diminished. Cryptocurrency has crashed. There's a landscape that is currently just in such dire straits that it seems as though these NFT bros will try just about anything to try to spruce things back up. But along the way, they'll engage in the thing that's keeping people away, just how scam-ridden, theft-ridden, crime-ridden, scheme-ridden this all is, how shady this whole landscape is, what a wild, wild west this whole landscape is. And the way they try to get people hyped for NFTs again is by stealing, whether it's the Touch ID trademark from Apple or GameCube's logo. And then next up, this is where it really is at its most egregious when it comes to them stealing somebody else's work. The render of the console itself, lo and behold, is not original. As pointed out here by Twitter user Buttcoin, who posted this screenshot from at radicalrabbit at laserdisc.party. I don't know what outlet this is from, but this is what this post reads like. Ha 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 ha. Oh my god, this is perfect. That fake-ass Web3 video game console that's been making the rounds among the crypto bro circles and those circles that make fun of him is literally just a reskinned CGI image of a failed South Korean console called the Behance Oasis. They couldn't even create an original fake digital mock-up of a console that will never exist. This is true, ladies and gentlemen. I checked this out myself. There is a website for that South Korean console, the Behance Oasis, and that website looks something like this. You can see right here the design of the console and the controller is straight up identical. The folks at Polium One just directly ripped these assets, changed the homework up a little bit, and then posted that as sort of the preliminary design, the preliminary concept of what the final console will supposedly look like. The one that's going to play games at 8K and 120 frames per second. 4K even is pushing it for a console of this size, unless you're talking about very kind of graphics, non-intensive titles. You can especially notice the similarities when I switch back and forth between this Oasis screenshot on the official website and the Polium One. The controller you can see with the big touchpad in the middle, the shape of everything, the fact that this console has those grills on the sides like so, and the lighting to some degree is also copied. The two USB ports, which is what I assume these are, USB-A ports, you can see on the sides right here, are placed in identical positions. They just changed up the render ever so slightly to differentiate it somewhat, but much like the GameCube logo, you can tell that it's just straight up a complete and utter ripoff. The criticism that NFTs face, aside from the fact that it's the commodification of art, of expression, the fact that it's just trying to turn these kind of cheaply made artworks into investment opportunities rather than let just art be what it is and not have it be its own stock market, is the constant theft that occurs in this landscape. People taking others' work, others' artwork, others' music, others, you name it, that were not given consent to be sold as NFTs. They're stolen and then sold as NFTs for profit, and essentially people are benefiting from others' work. That's a big major point of contention surrounding NFTs, and the lack of regulation just enables that willy-nilly with very little in the way of recourse. And so what does Polium do, the geniuses over there? They decide that the first instinct that they should lean towards is to take other people's work and sell it off as their own, be it Touch ID, the GameCube logo, or the South Korean Oasis console, whose design is damn near identical to the Polium One. All they did was prove the stigmas right. They've only further stigmatized NFTs and Metaverse, only further made them the butt of the joke, made the internet further point and laugh and ridicule at this hilarious endeavor that is no doubt nothing more than a scam, which is what the entire NFT metaverse landscape is turning out to be in its current state, with what companies are presenting and how they're prioritizing the monetization aspect rather than any kind of actual practical use that would benefit us in some way, that would provide a useful service that we'd be happy to pay for. We don't even know that much about the company, how well funded they are. Do they have the manpower and resources to be able to develop a console like this and actually manufacture them on a mass level from 10,000 to 1 million, which is what they plan for the next 2 years? Sounds like a damn near impossibility to me, considering that they don't even know that Touch ID is an Apple trademarked product. Or maybe they did and they just decided to risk it. Either way, it looks bad. Either they're engaging nefariously and stealing on purpose, or they're just really, really freaking stupid and incompetent and have no clue what they're doing here. And if they can't even get not marketing Touch ID as if it's your own trademark right, do you think they'll get an entire console launch right? Especially when their roadmap looks like this. Looking at the console category, look how vague this all is. Idea, planning, console design, hardware development, software development, no actual specifics, just very, very nebulous, nondescript words thrown out there with no specific months or years even for some of these, except that things will be ready for launch by 2024. Even in the overview section, sure, we got some years here and there, but it's just a bunch of words that they throw out there without fully detailing what this roadmap actually entails. You can hardly call this a roadmap. It's just a pathetic attempt across the board, and yet more proof that this is the kind of stuff you can expect from NFTs and Metaverse. It's all about creating a dedicated wallet button. It's all about lying to customers. It's all about stealing other people's work. It's all just tripling down on the negative aspects that we've associated NFTs and Metaverse and blockchain with. And once again, all the more reason to ensure that crap like this never, ever gets normalized in the gaming landscape. There's already enough crap like microtransactions, loot boxes, gambling, you name it, that's been normalized enough. That's already kind of ruined so much of gaming in many respects. There's no need to add this shitty extra layer on top of all of that. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the latest surrounding this hilariously awful Polium One NFT Metaverse dedicated console. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.